fellow lovers of the liminal and the weird, and welcome to another video by Liminal Spaces. Today I'm going to jump back to my horror library, and we're going to go over authors whose last names end with the letter D or E. So we'll start with letter D, and we start with Mark Z. Danielewski's House of Leaves. I read this back when I was getting my undergrad, and at the time it really blew me away. And one of the things that I loved about this was the concept of liminal spaces, and I had just been introduced to the concept of liminality in general, and I felt like this book really pushed the envelope of what liminality was, and really truly was obsessed with this house that continued to grow on the inside while remaining the same size on the outside. Just incredible. Blew my mind. Every time I say incredible, I hear it now. I feel like I'm saying it too dang much. It's going to become my tagline. Yeah, I really... This scared me. This made me wonder when I turned off the lights if the room that I was inhabiting was still the same size. A type of creeping dread that I'd only really felt as a teenager before. Just really wild stuff. Unfortunately, I was not a huge fan of half of the book, and that is the half that was the footnotes, the sexual adventures and drug adventures of the person that discovers the story about the house. So I found myself in love with the book, and then really disliking the book, and then in love with the book, and just getting thrown all around. If I ever reread it, I wouldn't read the footnotes. I would stick with just the essay on the growing of the house. So it's a really interesting book because I love it. Made me afraid of the dark as an adult for a while. Really brought horror back into my life, but then it had this second side that I didn't like at all, or as much. Yeah, this has come out in hardbound, and I kind of want it, but it's so expensive. It's like $49 or $39, or just really expensive for the this book. Next, I have L.P. Davies, The Artificial Man. And I don't know how this ended up in horror. I remember specifically putting in horror. Let me see what it says here. Yeah, this could be horror or science fiction. Now with The Artificial Man, L.P. Davies plunges even deeper into this powerful new type of suspense novel, a unique hybrid which combines the eerie and unknown terrors of science fiction with the elements of the classic suspense tale. The story begins very quietly in the English village where Alan Fraser had lived all his life. The shopkeepers, the folks next door, the village constable, the delivery man, they were all his friends. And then came the girl, the mysterious stranger, and chaos and danger. So, I don't know. The jacket is by Emmanuel Schoengut. I think this could fit in either the science fiction or the horror, but I chose to put it in horror. On to a writer. This is a really strange story. Let me just show what it is first. Audrey Rose by Frank del Felitta. Felitta? I don't know how to say his last name. Never heard it spoken, only ever read it. And this is a very nostalgic book for me, but not in the same way books are usually nostalgic for me. I did read this so long ago, but I don't remember a lot of it. What I do remember is that my mother absolutely loved it. I remember seeing the paperback on her shelf, and I remember her telling me the entire story because she loved it so much. So really, I remember this as translated by my mom telling me the story. So I've always really enjoyed this. I read it. I remember, I think it kind of breaks down into courtroom drama, if I remember correctly. But I might be comparing it with the movie. I've read the book and seen the movie so long ago. Either way, I remember liking the general concept of reincarnation. And to me, this seems like the most 70s of books, in that sense of really believing. I mean, the Devil Made Me Do It thing that they made a movie of recently, where they try to prove in a court of law that this person was possessed, is something that I think only could have happened in the 70s. And this book feels like that to me as well. This is something that only could have happened in the 70s, that there's this court case that these parents are claiming that this girl is their daughter reincarnated. It's very interesting. So I had to have a copy of that. Also by Frank de Felitta, The Entity. And I don't know, I know there's a movie. I know there's a movie based on this. And I was just watching something about the Warrens and some of their hauntings, and that they were inspired by this or the movie on this, that a lot of their cases suddenly started involving SA of ghosts, right? That ghosts were SAing people. Here he is on the back, looking pretty awesome. I have not read this. Another one by him, Golgotha Falls. Here he is on the back. I don't know if this is a good writer. I've only read Audrey Rose, and when I started recollecting horror, I just grabbed what I could find. So I'm going to have to pick one of these, The Entity or Golgotha Falls, and read one of those. What do you guys think of this guy? I don't think he came up. Maybe he did. Was he in Paperbacks from Hell? Any of his work? He seems like part of that horror craze from the 70s and the 80s. So if you've read any of his stuff and love it, let me know. If you don't think he's a good writer, let me know. Either way, let me know what you think of him. I have one here, Guillermo del Toro, The Hollow Ones, The Blackwood Tapes, Volume 1, Chuck Hogan. So I don't know if Guillermo del Toro came up with the idea and Chuck wrote it. I put it under Del Toro because his name's up here at the top. A horrific crime that defies ordinary explanation. A rookie FBI agent in dangerous, uncharted territory. An extraordinary hero for the ages. I don't know. I like Guillermo del Toro, so I grabbed this. This is something I'm going to want to research more, but I had to pick it up when I came across it. It's called The Madrone Tree, and it's by David Duncan. And let's see when it came out. 1949. And then listen to this flap here. What was the evil that lurked in the heart of Bull Woods near the Madrone Tree, whose bark resembled human flesh? To the sheriff, the Madrone Tree was simply the scene of 2 murders, in which the victims died in strange ways, to the accompaniment of wild laughter. To the Reverend Manly Fox, the tree was a symbol of the devil, and because Elsa Kildonan lived near it and refused to move away, the Reverend desired to save her doomed soul. Yeah, I don't know, some kind of creepy tree horror story. Never heard of it. Apparently this guy also wrote The Bramble Bush. You know anything about this? Let me know in the comments if you've read anything by him or if you've read this one specifically. It looks really interesting. On to the paperbacks that start with D. We're going back to Frank de Felitta. This is the second book in the Audrey Rose series. Has She Been Born Again? Which is probably not good. It was an idea that I feel like could only really be done once. I don't know how he could, I guess, maybe do the same thing. I don't know. So strange, but love the cover. And just so much nostalgia for this ridiculous story. I don't know why. All right. Got an August Derleth book, The Trail of Cthulhu, A Nightmare Journey into Lovecraftian Horror. Got just a couple people falling into a big old pit with some Cthulhu-esque monsters back there. I'm hoping to find a way into the Cthulhu mythos after H.P. Lovecraft, and this is probably where I'll start. Another Derleth, Someone in the Dark, skin-crawling tales of horror-ridden imagination. Ooh. this book is in good condition. I'm glad to have it. I've heard great things about Derleth. If you've read him, let me know what you think. Pyramid Book, The Man with the Tiny Head by Ivor Drummond. Kinky sex and taut suspense in a new kind of thriller, violent, compulsive reading. I have no idea, but I really like this cover drawing. Yeah, they're not going to tell us who did this, but this looks familiar to me. I feel like I know this artist. We'll see. Killing Mr. Griffin. This is one I read a long time ago. It's by Lois Duncan. And I think she was the writer that did I Know What You Did Last Summer, which I never read. But I read this when I was a kid and really, really remembered loving it. I don't remember the story now, but I really did like it a lot when I read it. This is my old copy, one of the horror books that made it through. So, Lois Duncan, Killing Mr. Griffin. I don't have any. That's the end of the paperbacks for D. I do not have any hardbacks for the letter E, but I do have only one paperback for the letter E, and that is The Death Stone by Ken Yulo. I'm guessing that's how you say his last name. And this is a keyhole cover. Pretty cool. Just her little head pops out from this stone, and then you open it, and there's all kinds of creepy craziness going along. Honestly, I bought this for the cover. It did make it through my purging when I went and read the backs, so I must have liked something about it on the back here. There is no escape for the one whose name is carved upon the Death Stone. Chandel Talin's occult nightmares were behind her. For 7 years, she and her husband Ron had lived happy, loving lives. Then, at the start of a Rocky Mountain vacation with their daughter Christy, an accident strands them in a village of eerie customs and strange rituals. Rituals to which the friendly townspeople eagerly invited their new visitors. And suddenly Ron is plagued by bloody visions. Christy is obsessed by creatures no one else can see. Then, the carnival of summer, the crowning of the queen, the Sabbath that calls for a gift of flesh and blood. Now a long-forgotten specter of evil reaches out again for Chandel, while a lone stonecutter carves another name in the great rock above them. I don't know. Sounds cool. So I'll eventually read this for the channel. That's it. Those are my horror books that end with the letter D, the letter E. If there's anybody I missed in there, anybody you love that you didn't see in my library, let me know. If you have any suggestions or anything like that. Again, we now have a Patreon. I'm hoping to set up kind of a book club vibe over on the Patreon. If you would like to be a part of that, head on over there and sign up. All right, thank you very much for watching this to the end. Click like and subscribe, and we will see you next time.